from Days Ago Shopworks here, and on this episode we're going to be doing part 4 of our cheap Big Block 440 rebuild. So if you remember, in part 1 we stripped everything down and took the parts to the shop, and I pressure washed the heck out of everything. Well, I want to see how good a job I did. So one of the best things you can do when you take an engine and you're going to rebuild it is you can thread chase all the bolt holes. And I've put engines together where I haven't done it, I put them together where I have done it, and it's always nicer when you thread chase the bolt holes. There's always little tiny bits of crud and stuff built up in it. So I'm going to see how good of a job I actually did washing out all the holes, because I went nuts on this thing with the pressure washer. High pressure heat and detergent as well, so it should be pretty clean. But we're going to go that extra step and just make sure. So not very exciting, but here we go. We'll get it done lickety split, and we can move on to the rest of the build. Here goes. So I use some snap-on thread chasers that I have. This one's a 7/16 coarse thread. I'll use it on all my head bolt holes. And if you can thread them down by finger, then that's pretty clean. Sometimes you got to grab a wrench. There, that's bottomed out. Take it back out. Not bad. A little bit of mush. Nothing crazy. When I'm done, I'll also blow out the holes with my blowgun and some compressed air, and that'll finish off the job right there. There we go. We got a bad one. I can't really go any further than that, and I know it has to go a little bit more, so I got to grab a wrench. Might not seem like much because I only got another half a turn out of it, but that half a turn could have the potential to bind up the head bolt and give us an inaccurate torque reading. See, a fellow would take that, the other side went really good. I had one that had a little tiny bit in it. And he'd say, oh, that's so good. The other side's probably the same. But it wasn't. Look at how much junk I just got into that rear bolt hole. You go ahead and you think you did a good job and you put it all together, and when you got down to tightening your torque down, well, you can cause a false torque reading, and you could have a coolant leak, a combustion gas leak. You could torch a head gasket. Heck, torch the top of a piston, honestly, if the head gasket doesn't seal properly. You can warp your cylinder head from heat cycles. You might not even see a leak, but you can still do damage. So that's why we like to be a little thorough. It's tedious, but like I said, we're trying to do a low buck build, cheap, but we're not cutting corners. Like if something needs to be done, we're going to do it. We're protecting our investment in our time, in our experience, and in our parts. If you don't care to protect what you're doing to it, then honestly, there's not much point in doing it. You're just kind of can throw money to the wind and hope for the best. Well, go buy a lottery ticket. Now this one doesn't go down as deep as the others did, so I think I'm going to have to grab a thread tap for that guy. And really there's one on the other side that's kind of bugging me too, so I'm going to mark those. And I'll go back to them with a proper thread tap and see what I find. It might be nothing, it might just be the depth of the hole, but I would rather be safe than sorry. Alright, now you can see that literally took 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and I did all of the head bolt holes. Now, I'm going to go ahead and keep going. I'm going to do my valley pan retainer holes, and then I'm going to do all my water pump and timing cover holes. And then I'm going to flip it over. I'll do my fuel pump holes as well. And then I'm going to flip it over and do all the main holes and every single oil pan bolt hole. And that's it. I mean, it's just simple cleaning, taking care of everything, and making sure when it goes together, it's going to go together smooth with no issues. Another part of that, I'll just show you right now, is I was looking over my main bolts. So, you know, here they are. And I noticed this one's got like kind of a shiny spot here. I'm like, maybe that was a little bit of dirt or something. So I started looking at them a little closer, and then I saw this one has, it looks like it could be a stress crack. Really hard to tell. I don't have a magnifying glass or a, you know, microscope to check it, but I'm not going to use that head bolt or that main bolt. Keep checking them over. That guy's fine. I'd reuse him in a heartbeat. Same with him. I'd reuse him. Got to clean them, obviously. I have chasers as well. They'll chase the bolt as well. And so I went through them all. Now this guy almost has a stretched look to him. It's hard to tell right now in the lighting, but it looks like it has a stretched look right about here where it would clamp down from there to there is where it actually tightens up. So I started thinking, okay, all of these bolts have probably been used more than twice in their life. These ones, out of the 71 block, look at them. They look mint, brand new, like they just come off of a shelf. So guess what? And they all look that way. Like, look at that, just beautiful. Every single one of them, just gorgeous. So I'm going to use these main cap bolts. I have to use these mains, obviously, that came with the 64 block. You can't screw around with that or mismatch them. It doesn't work. But yeah, that's where I'm going to be for the next little while, is finishing up the prep on the bolt holes, thread chasing them. I'll show you right quickly. I'll grab my my tap and die set, and I'll check those three that I marked to find out if there is actually an issue with them or if they're just a slightly shallower depth. Could be. So yeah, we'll do that right now. Yeah, I can feel it in there. It's grinding up a little bit of something. I mean, for all I know, there's a pebble down in there. I've blown all the holes out. There won't be. It'll just be some dirt accumulation, but you sure do want to make sure. So there we go. That's my stop. I can feel it. You don't force it either. You just turn it about a turn, turn and a half, and then back a half a turn, because a thread tap itself will build up an excess of metal behind it as it's cutting through. That's why it's nice to just use the thread chasers. They won't do that. They'll just clean. And then I'll still blow that out, and I'll run my thread chaser through it again just to make sure I'm happy. Okay, just to come back for a second here, I'm doing my intake manifold valley pan retainer bolts. So there's a steel plate that goes down over top of the intake valley pan, holds it in place, and I put the intake on it. Anyway, You got to silicone them and seal it, blah, blah, blah. Well, something I have run into is after years and years of working on engines, you're re-siliconing like a thermostat housing, and you're re-siliconing your timing cover and your water pump and this and that. Anyway, all that silicone doesn't get cleaned out unless you're doing this procedure with the thread chaser. And I looked down in my holes here and I'm like, oh yeah, orange paint, and it looks like they're really shallow holes. But then I look here and what I was digging out of this guy was crazy. So I'm going to show you on the next one. Like, look at all that junk coming out. And what that'll do is that will bottom out the hole. You won't get your bolt tightened properly. And you can actually break the bolt or break the casting if there's enough junk in there. So here's the next one. Like, I screwed it down and I was like, oh yeah, there's my stop. It's a shallow hole. I'll just give it a little tweak. And watch this. Oh, that one actually wasn't that bad. Here comes the junk. Look at that. And that's it in a nutshell. Like I said, I got to go ahead and finish off the rest of them. I'm not going to torture you with that. And from there, we're going to move on to part 5. Stay tuned to find out what part 5 is. Thanks, guys. Please like, subscribe, and share. And I really appreciate all your support. Take care.